At first, it was the national media for years that told us to distrust U.S. President Donald Trump because he was usurped. He was colluding with the biggest boogie monster of them all, Vladimir Putin and Russia. All, of course, based on delusion, conspiracy theories, discredited thinking, and agents on behalf of the states that were knowingly lying to you. And when they were proven wrong and there was no collusion found at all, did these pundits, did these representatives in the mainstream media take any responsibility, take any wrongdoing, admitting to lying throughout this entire time? No. They're blaming Attorney General Robert Barr right now as their main person of contention right now, instead of taking any responsibility, which is absolutely insane. And I want to cover in this specific video because I think it's absolutely not just delusional, but just absolutely insane, just as similar as the images we got outside of the White House yesterday from Ford Fisher of News to Share, who literally shot video of protesters outside of the White House, literally saying, "Thank you, Special Counsel Mueller. We thank the FBI. Hip, hip, hooray. Hip, hip, hooray." With, of course, signs with a makeshift Robert Barr saying, of course, that he let everyone down, that he was some kind of agent for Donald Trump. Again, this is just absolutely insane, especially if you understand the FBI's history with COINTELPROB, the FBI's history in mistreatment, setting up activists and spying on activists throughout their professional intelligence agency careers as the establishment strong arm of the state. Now, activists are literally singing their praise in the streets. And what do you expect? MSNBC, Lawrence O'Donnell, literally had Democratic Congressman Swalwell on, who, by the way, is also running to be president of the United States, who literally came out on the news and alluded that the Attorney General, Robert Barr, should resign. This is absolutely insane. What do you have to say about this, Jason? And should we just play this clip?
Yeah, we can play the clip. Let's go to it. I'll give you my thoughts after.
I don't think Attorney General Barr can remain as Attorney General. He can either be the president's lawyer or America's lawyer. He has chosen to work for the president. I believe he should resign immediately.
I mean, Jason, to me, these are like little babies stomping their foot, saying, "I'm not happy. I'm not satisfied with the conclusion here. I want answers." And of course, and Swalwell, again, he's been pretty much highlighted. He's been pretty much covered as a superstar on all the major networks, on Bill Maher, on MSNBC, on CNN. His political campaign video, by the way, had like 11,000 hits with like thousands of downloads. But again, superstar on the mainstream media, where again, he's reiterating the points that Bob Barr, who, by the way, had a 30-year friend relationship with Robert Mueller. For 30 years, they've been friends. This man, Bob Barr, gave $55,000 to support Jeb Bush in the presidential election. Now, Bob Barr is in on it. He's the number one target, enemy number one uno. What do you make of this? Because to me, Jason, this is just absolutely insane. And Mueller and Bob Barr, they're all agents of the state in my mind.
Well, I think there's a lot of nuances here. For instance, Trump has filled his cabinet with nothing but establishment figures, deep state figures, if you will. Pompeo, Bolton, Haspel, and now Barr. Now, I would argue with you, by the way, that, for instance, Bob Barr wasn't there to sort of protect Trump. Obviously, that's what he was there to do, in a sense. So when Sessions, who had campaigned with Trump, recused himself and allowed the special counsel to run wild into what would become a two-part, yes, not a just Russian collusion document, but a two-part document that focused more heavily, in my opinion, on obstruction of justice and kind of a loophole at the end. Well, that's what Barr was brought there to do. Now, as far as their relationship together, Barr and Mueller's, listen, these are establishment guys. It shocks me not at all to see that they've worked together or that they tried to promote Jeb Bush. Remember, in the very beginning of the last Republican primary. That's who they really tried to push as their next president. They would have loved to see another Bush, Clinton, Bush dynasty. They couldn't make it happen. Literally at one point, I don't know if you remember this, Luke, but Jeb Bush was like in front of like 15 or 20 people, not so many people talking to them. He said something, he stopped, and he asked them to clap. That's how charismatic Jeb Bush was. They couldn't sell him. So Barr runs in these circles. He is no saint. I want to say that. But when you want to see politics getting played, Luke, I think we really have to go to Jerry Three-Neck Nadler from 1998 to Jerry, I'm going to subpoena the unredacted Mueller report 2019 because the hypocrisy is right in your face.
Exactly, and it's filled with hypocrisy. But I think the biggest amount of hypocrisy is definitely coming from people like Swalwell that are getting play on the mainstream media because they're literally convinced that somehow Barr decided that Robert Barr is behind this and he's covering all of this up. And he's covering the real. I mean, it's absolutely
let me stop you,
insane, and just totally crazy that these people can't face the reality of the actual report of what Mueller found. Because if Mueller, again, go ahead.
Yeah, well, let me stop you because again, when you talk about that, remember another attorney general, had he recused himself, may have allowed Mueller to prosecute on obstruction charges. But because this investigation was in Russian collusion, that may have been slighted by Barr in private. Let me say this, though. When you talk about the Hollywood insanity, right?
Wait, before you get into that, but Jason, Mueller even wrote himself, he decided not to prosecute. He says he's not getting Trump off of the charges, but at the same time, he's not deciding to go after the charges.
That's right. It neither convicts nor exonerates him of these obstruction charges.
Yeah, but what I'm saying here, and this is where I disagree with you, the left is making the argument that this is all Robert Barr's fault. It's Barr who's deciding not to do this, instead of looking at the actual Mueller document and being like, hey.
That's where we have to disagree because it was up to Barr whether he was going to prosecute the obstruction charges. 100%. It's 100% his decision. That's not a question. So had he wanted to prosecute,
I'm not disagreeing with that, but I'm saying the decision to decide hasn't been definitively made by Mueller, which people are making the assessment that there has been.
I'm not quite following you. Again, Mueller made it very open-ended. Who knows what happened behind closed doors with him and Barr's conversations. I can say that, of course, Mueller in this report very openly left it up to Barr and others to say whether they would prosecute on obstruction. So now what's going to happen is, other than just Nadler subpoenaing this report and all of these Hollywood liberal elites like, Rob Reiner. I like John Cusack. It's so tough seeing him go this route because he's done such good anti-war stuff. Alyssa
blocked me on Twitter, by the way.
Yeah,
there's a whole scandal around that. Yeah. Let's look at all these celebritards because I mean they're just absolutely losing it as well. But the interesting case with Cusack, because Cusack was around during the Bush administration and even spoke out a little bit against the Trump, the Barack Obama administration, but he absolutely seems to kind of lost it. He was following me on Twitter because of the work that we were doing. There was even retweets that he liked some of the work we were doing, being critical of Obama, being critical of Bush. And then we started talking about there being no Trump collusion. He blocked me. And then I remember me and Tim Pool reached out and sent out a tweet being like, hey, why'd you block Luke? He responded, oh, there must have been something wrong here, followed me back. And then I started saying, hey, there's no Russian collusion, guys. He blocked me again and then made a whole tweet saying, oh, can't believe I was tricked into following a Russian agent, Putin conspirator. I mean, I look like Vladimir Putin, sure, but all those other charges are not true at all. And he went off against me on Twitter talking about that total asinine, wrong disinformation to think that there was no Russian collusion. That's what John Cusack publicly did. He still has me blocked, but absolutely just people are losing it. Because, again, look where all this information is coming from. The mainstream media and, of course, intelligence agencies that have been discredited. All this was created by them. and the people are literally loving the FBI in the streets, and other celebrities are just blindly following the disinformation, where now their next target, which I'm trying to make the bigger case here, is Barr, because they're not satisfied with the conclusions of this report, and they're absolutely losing it. And that's my point that I want to make here.
Again, I don't see that they're not satisfied with the quote-unquote conclusions of the report. They're not satisfied that they don't have an attorney general that will take the conclusions of those reports and then prosecute Trump for obstruction.
I'm saying that they're not satisfied they didn't get the answer that they wanted.
I mean, that's certainly part of it, but they didn't get the answer. They didn't get the answer they didn't want. In other words,
they didn't find any collusion.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think it's fair to say, we disagree on this, there was no collusion. I think it's fair to say that.
Oh, no, I'm not. Listen, I'm not disagreeing that there was no collusion. All I'm saying to you is there is no point in that report that anywhere Mueller or his team says there was no collusion. They say they couldn't find evidence of collusion between Trump or his administration with Russia in the election. That doesn't mean
tomato. They had to find.
It's not tomato.
But they couldn't find anything. I think it's very fair to say. I don't know. Let the people decide. I think it's very fair to say there was no collusion.
Again, you keep twisting it, Luke. I'm not saying that there was collusion. I'm saying there was not collusion. I'm saying that the Mueller report does not exonerate him of collusion on purpose, leaves it open-ended. That's all. Listen, I think we should focus on Nadler now, demanding the subpoena of the entire unredacted report, when in 1998, okay, about 21 years ago, Three-Neck Nadler argued the exact opposite. I mean, it's the same person, folks. I'm not trying to be rude.
We are demanding, and we have a right, Congress has a right to the entire report with no redactions whatsoever.
Much of this material is Federal Rule 6E material, that is material that by law, unless contravened by vote of the House, must be kept secret.
We're entitled to see it because Congress represents the nation, and Congress has to take action on any of it. So we're entitled to see all of it.
The entire Judiciary Committee is going to see it to decide what must be kept confidential as protecting privacy of third parties. That means 50 people are going to see it. It's going to leak out. And those privacy rights are going to be violated, and that is ensured by this resolution.
He has said he will redact 4 classifications of information.
Right.
Our position is that he should redact none of it.
It represents statements which may or may not be true by various witnesses, salacious material, all kinds of material.
So, again, he's very against himself. And by the way, I want to reiterate this, Luke. I want it all redacted. I'm fine with that. I'm not calling for redactions. I'm showing the hypocrisy of Nadler and other politicians. Go ahead.
I'm just impressed at how much weight he lost. Good on him for that. But other than that, total hypocrite, just like anyone in Washington, D.C. But again, people are just never satisfied. And to me, I think we've reached enough. Sure, I want to know everything. Sure, release unredacted. I don't care. I want to know what the hell the government's doing. But like to have John Cusack, he literally tweeted, Barr equals complete whitewash cover-up, a press circus orchestrated by the White House, 100% corruption. John Cusack, what is wrong with you? Alyssa Milano, it is my opinion that an innocent man wouldn't say the below words out loud, but that's just me. Put up the Daily Mail article if you can, so we can show. She's, of course, referencing the out-of-context quote with Donald Trump saying he's effed, that this is the end of his presidency. When you look at the quote in full, that quote is totally taken out of context. And again, all these celebritards have absolutely just lost it. Even the Game of Thrones official show came out and says, please don't use our graphics as for a political purpose, please, because the whole dialogue here is just totally destroyed. And to me, these people have just absolutely lost it and have no sense of reality. You have that quote lined up. If you want to talk about it, you can.
Yeah, I just want to talk about it quick because, first of all, I want to reiterate, as we did yesterday, it's not on video. It's not on tape. The quote itself, we have to rely on notes from FBI agent Hunt. Let's start there. So after he was told that the special counsel had been appointed, this is what he supposedly said. Oh my God, this is terrible. This is the end of my presidency. I'm effed. Now, if you stopped it there and took it completely out of context, oh my God, the end of his presidency.
And Alyssa Milano's doing, by the way.
Yeah, but what they do here is, it's kind of brilliant, is they then, instead of going to the next part of the quote, they make sure they distance it a little bit. They go, the president became angry and lambasted the attorney general for his decision to recuse himself from the investigation, stating, "How could you let this happen?" So again, he felt like he was appointing Sessions to help protect him, supposedly by Hunt. And I don't doubt that at all. He goes, this is the context right here. Everyone tells me if you get one of these independent counsels, it ruins your presidency. It takes years and years, and I won't be able to do anything. This is the worst thing to ever happen to me. So he was discussing how he would not be able to get any of his policies passed because he would be entrenched in this special counsel and scandal, not, oh my God, they're going to find Putin's underwear in my drawer. What am I going to do?
Yeah. And that's literally what all these celebritards are tweeting about. And their next thing is Barr's the real crook here. And Barr's just another White House kind of government insider. Again, it's absolute, just total delusion. That's what I think. A lot of hypocrisy. But these people have, in my opinion, absolutely lost it. We may agree to disagree. That's fine. But I see this not going anywhere. And this delusion, I believe, needs to be called out. What do you guys think? Let us know in the comment section below. We always look forward to your feedback. And, of course, stay tuned for more videos. 4 videos a week, sponsored, of course, mainly by you, the viewer, on wearechange.org/donate. It's your support, your contributions, whether it's cryptocurrencies, physical mail, checks, PayPal, whatever. We take it all. We have t-shirts. We have pillows that I think someone's going to be taking off very closely soon off the website, by the way. So if you guys want to get on that, you should get it really quickly. We have all the ways you can support us, and your support is more critical than ever for the survival of independent media. I love you guys. Stay tuned for more here on wearechange.org.